Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博人。World markets saw a positive turn over the past few days as China and the US agreed to slash tariffs for 90 days. A welcome move for American retailers who were otherwise facing empty shelves as early as the next few weeks. Despite that temporary reprieve, the next 90 days will no doubt be packed with drama as the world's two largest economies negotiate to do a more stable deal. Well, as stable as a deal can be with Washington, D.C. But China holds massive negotiating advantage, and that is its supply of important rare earth elements, which it stopped selling to the US on April 4, following Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. That ban remains in place even after the agreement was reached in Switzerland last weekend. And the US is desperate to get access to those elements, which are critical for advanced technologies across multiple industries, including defense, electronics and technology, and clean energy applications. But what will China want in return? Well, today we'll go beyond the propaganda. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Borham here in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. First up today, some really exciting news. My book, The Wu Mao Handbook Volume 1, 20 Anti-China Lies Debunked, is now available around the world on Amazon. This is truly such an exciting moment for me after working hard on this book over the past year or so. It's a handy and simple way to help people around the world to learn the truth about some of the most popular anti-China lies. Volume 1 features 20 of those lies, which are clearly and concisely debunked, including Taiwan is a country, Uyghur slave labor, fentanyl, free Tibet, disappearing people, the social credit score, Western social media banned in China, and so much more. The Wu Mao Handbook is written in plain English, and it's suitable for everyone from complete China beginners to seasoned Wu Mao. You can grab a copy for yourself, your friends, or gift it to the anti-China troll in your life who's been propagandized by Western media. The Wu Mao Handbook is 142 pages long, and it's available in paperback format as well as my favorite, this hardcover format, which just has that feeling to it. Now, apart from the amazing illustrations, which were done by Anton Petrov-Martinez, the design and layout and everything else was done by yours truly. So it's really been a labor of love, and I'm super proud. If you want to support the channel and grab a copy or three, the Amazon link will be posted below this video, or you can go to your local Amazon Books website and search the Wu Mao Handbook. Plus, if you buy the book before May 25, you can enter the draw to win some awesome Reports on China merchandise, including my retro enamel mug and the official Wu Mao medal, which I'm wearing right now. Simply go to reportsonchina.com, enter your details as well as your Amazon order number, and you're in to win. Okay, on to today's topic. Following the trade meetings between China and the US and Switzerland over the weekend, both sides issued a joint statement announcing that tariffs would be slashed for 90 days as the two sides work out a more stable and long-term deal. China reduced their tariffs on imported US goods to 10%, while the US reduced their tariffs on imported Chinese goods to 30%. But why are the two numbers uneven? Well, that comes from the fact that China demanded the US remove all tariffs back to the start of Trump's Liberation Day tantrum starting on April 2, which is exactly what the US side did. The extra 20% comes from separate tariffs Trump leveled on China at 10% a pop on February 4 and then March 4, which he said was because of China's part in the US fentanyl crisis, which killed nearly 74,000 people there in 2023 alone. But, shock horror, the US fentanyl crisis is no one's fault but the US itself. That country has faced massive drug addiction issues for decades, and for some reason they just love casting the blame on everyone else. So what has it got to do with China? Well, it turns out that fentanyl is actually a legitimate and very important pain-killing medication that is used around the world legally in hospitals every single day. It's popular with terminal cancer patients, for example, and it's also often used during and after surgery as a potent pain medication. In fact, it's only North America where that legitimate and important drug is abused to a massive extent. China is one of the world's largest producers of fentanyl precursors, as well as fentanyl-related medications. So let's blame China then. Yesterday, China's Foreign Affairs spokesperson Lin Jian slammed the US side for those fentanyl tariffs, saying, "China has made it clear more than once that fentanyl is the US's problem, not China's. It's the US's responsibility to solve the issue. Despite the goodwill China has shown, the US wrongly slapped tariffs on Chinese imports by citing the issue of fentanyl. The move has dealt a heavy blow to China-US dialogue and cooperation on counter-narcotics and gravely hurt China's interests. If the US truly wants to cooperate with China, it should stop vilifying and shifting the blame on China and seek dialogue with China based on equality, respect, and mutual benefit." If you want to know more about this issue, I have a whole chapter on fentanyl in my book, The Wu-Mao Handbook. Many China supporters were shocked that Beijing's trade team would agree to leave those fentanyl tariffs against China up, following the talks in Switzerland, calling it massively unfair. Some even thought that China lost face because of that. Actually, that is not true at all, partly because of what I said earlier, that China got everything it asked for from the US team for now, and partly because China still has massive retaliatory measures in place against the United States, mainly its ban on the export of rare earth elements that Trump desperately needs. That ban was not cancelled as part of the Switzerland talks, and it remains one of China's bargaining chips to use in the next 90 days. On April 4, following Trump's April 2 liberation tariff announcement, China's Ministry of Commerce introduced export controls on 7 heavy rare earth elements, along with rare earth magnets. It turns out that China has a near monopoly on the processing and refining of those elements, dominating the global supply chain. So why do the US and other countries need those elements from China so much? Well, they are critical across a number of industries, like military equipment, including precision-guided missiles, radar systems, and fighter jet components, and electronics, where those elements enable miniaturization and efficiency in consumer electronics like hard drives, smartphones, electric vehicle motors, LED displays and lasers, and so much more. This will help ensure China gets a fair deal over the next 90 days. But what might Beijing want from the US side in return? Well, apart from word that Washington, D.C. will honour and stick to any agreement it comes to, and mechanisms being put in place to ensure that the two sides keep in close contact and avoid future disasters like the fallout we saw over the past few weeks, I think China will definitely seek assurances from the US over at Taiwan, including perhaps having the United States limit arms sales to Taipei and a de-escalation of US military presence in the region. On the first point, despite Washington, D.C. agreeing with the rest of the world that Taiwan is part of China, they insist on continuing to sell weapons to the administration in Taipei, which has been a sore point for Beijing since official relations began between China and the US in 1979. China views US arms sales to Taiwan as provocative and supportive of Taiwan independence movements. And, who wants another Ukraine, this time in Asia? For the second point, Beijing may demand the US stop its military provocations in the region, or at least de-escalate significantly. That could include naval transits through the Taiwan Strait and joint exercises with allies like Japan and South Korea. Seriously, there's just no need for such military acts of intimidation in the region. And to use a classic example, how would the US feel if Chinese naval ships transited between the US and Cuba, for example? Well, we already know they absolutely would not accept it, as laid out in their colonialist Monroe Doctrine. So basically, Beijing just wants the US to treat others how they expect to be treated themselves. Doesn't seem like much of an ask. And with such leverage as its ban on rare earth elements, as well as the obvious fact that the US just cannot cope without China, I think the next 90 days are going to be extremely interesting. By the way, my Wu-Mao Handbook also features 2 chapters on Taiwan, debunking 2 major anti-China lies on that topic. Link in the description. And on that note, that will be it for today, you guys. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so do let me know down below. Also, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.